that pay gap is quite pertinent. So we can see that it's having an effect on black people in the sector. They're telling me that they feel abandoned because of this drawback too, and they're leaving at a disproportionate rate.
OK. Tiwa, really appreciate your time this afternoon from Bloomberg. They're live in the City of London. Thank you very much. OK, let's bring you up to date with the rest of the business stories on this Friday afternoon. And UK retail sales grew last month thanks to a boost in people buying tech products. Figures from the Office for National Statistics show that they were up 0.3% in September, despite economists previously predicting a fall. But sales were down at supermarkets, notably with fewer luxury food items being bought. The US streaming service Netflix has added more than 5 million subscribers in the third quarter, sending the shares up in early trading. Netflix said it also expects higher customer growth around Christmas when the Korean drama Squid Game returns. Shares rose 4.5% after closing down regular trading by 2%. And the boss of Boohoo is to step down following the online fashion retailer is going to launch a strategic review to try and improve trading. John Little, who's been at the helm for 5 years, he said his decision comes as the fast fashion retailer has announced another slump in sales and struck a new refinancing deal. Now, as the budget approaches, speculation around tax increases also continues to rise. Earlier, I spoke to James Watt. He's the founder of the craft beer producer Brewdog, and I asked him what effects he thought a potential rise in capital gains tax would mean for the UK economy.
An increase in capital gains tax, I think, is going to have so many bad consequences for the UK economy, and I think it's going to lead to less tax in general. Firstly, so many fantastic entrepreneurs, founders, job creators are simply going to leave the UK. We're going to see a mass exodus, especially those in the tech sector. Secondly, for me, this is going to lead to less tax overall. It's people who start businesses. They also pay national insurance, PAYE for their team, corporation tax. And we really need jobs. We need job creation. We need investment in our economy. We need economic growth. So it would be so anti-business and to disincentivize that.
Wealthy people talk about leaving the country. In the end, though, should that be a concern for a government? And actually, the UK is a good place to live. It's a better place than many other parts of the world. People like being close to home. I'm sure you like living in Scotland. I mean, would you ever consider leaving?
At the moment, I've got no plans to leave, but so many of the brilliant founders, the brilliant entrepreneurs that I know are looking to leave the UK, and these are the people that we need in the UK. We need these amazing minds. We need people who are going to build businesses. We need people who are going to innovate. We need people who are going to build products that we can export as a small island nation and grow our economy by selling things that we make here overseas. So if we lose these people, we've got less industry, less innovation, less disruption, less job creation, less wealth creation in the UK.
And that was James Watt speaking to me a little earlier. You can get more on that and indeed all the latest money news on our Money blog. You can just scan the QR code on your screen now and get the very latest news from across the city, business and your personal finances. Now, a Canadian helium exploration company has today provided a lift for the London Stock Exchange. Pulsar Helium has launched on the junior AIM market, a vote of confidence in the market, which has suffered a series of recent withdrawals. It plans to seek European investors as it tries to deal with the worldwide shortage of helium. Well, let's speak to Thomas Abraham James. He's the president and chief executive of co-founder of Pulsar Helium. Very, very good afternoon to you, Thomas. Let's just start with why London? Why have you chosen London?
Demand, to be honest, is that really it was London calling, you could say. So we certainly had a number of institutions, a number of investors that wanted to see the company dual listed, and it was so compelling that we certainly, we went for it. And we see today, we had our first day of trading today, over 1 million shares are traded, so significant volumes there as well. So it really just further justifies the decision that we made, and we believe in London, and it's certainly bearing fruit already.
It is interesting, of course, because I'm sure many viewers at home will know that the London Stock Exchange has been under a bit of pressure in recent times. Firms deciding not to launch here in London, if you like. Is this in part access to the European markets?
Look, I think so. For us, the ability for our investors, we certainly have quite a lot of people in the UK and Europe. We did look at other exchanges as well, but for us, it was a very easy choice to come across to London to join the AIM exchange. And that is the ability for people in Europe to be able to participate in our stock. And so in a company with our listing in dual listing in Canada. So yes, definitely for the European investors, London works.
Okay, well, let's talk to you about helium. What do you guys do? You're a helium company. You obviously sell helium around the world. Where is it used?
Helium's the commodity that nobody really knows that we completely rely upon, to be honest. So it's we always talk about party balloons, but that's about 5% of market share and a bit of a waste of a very valuable and scarce product. But it's all about semiconductors. To make semiconductors, you need liquid helium. For an MRI scanner, you need to have helium. To make fiber optic cables, you need helium. For a space rocket to launch, you need helium. And what's happened is that global supply for the past decade it's really been very fragile. There's been a huge shortage, and we've seen the price of helium go through the roof. And what that's really created is this new industry, which is what Pulsar is all about, and that's primary helium, looking for helium that is not associated with hydrocarbons, because typically helium is a byproduct of the production for natural gas. But that's not what we do. We look for helium in the ground where it's the primary economic driver. And really our ambition and why we exist is to go out there and to bring stability to the global helium industry so that industry is able to, with their manufacturing, factor in to say, okay, we can get product. Whereas for the past 10 years, they don't know if they can get it. And if they can, just how expensive is it going to be as well? So huge demand, and it's mostly driven by the tech industry.
And that demand, to a degree, Thomas, is being driven also by things like the war in Ukraine.
It has. So Russia is a producer of helium. So obviously with the sanctions against Russia, so we're not seeing any supply coming out there, particularly across to the States. So our main project is in the USA, which is the world's largest market for helium. And also helium is notoriously difficult to transport. It doesn't like being stored for long periods of time. So actually jurisdiction where the project is extremely important. So to have our key project in Minnesota right by the biggest market in the world is ideal and is another box tick for this strategic resource.
Just very finally, Thomas, I know you kind of jested a little earlier about helium balloons, but should we be concerned that I don't know, the cost of pumping up a balloons could become a bit more expensive if demand is as high as you say it is?
Well, it is the case. I do have a young daughter myself. And it's a bit eye-watering now when you go out to see what the price of those helium balloons are. But genuinely, it's a non-renewable resource. It does go straight out of our atmosphere. And considering how much we're reliant on it for the computer I'm talking on you now and everything else that's tech, I really genuinely think that we shouldn't be wasting it on balloons as we have been. Fascinating stuff.
Thomas, thank you very much indeed for your time. That's Thomas Abraham-James, the President, Chief Executive and co-founder of Pulsar Helium that has just launched on the London Stock Exchange. Thank you for your time. You're watching Business Live on Sky News. We're going to be back in just a couple of minutes looking at the markets on this Friday evening. The FTSE down a little. We'll be explaining why and looking at the other stocks and shares just after this quick commercial break.
I'm James Matthews, and I'm Sky's US correspondent, based here in Washington, D.C. Do you fear a fourth indictment? Is it a draw? Does your government owe an apology to the British home children? Great to see you. Does your government owe them an apology? The fact that they were intercepted, does that indicate a military weakness on the part of Iran? No. Free, wherever you get your news. There's no doubting the strength of this hurricane as it roars through. You can feel a devastating power. It had been a difficult night in a deadly storm.
Bang, bang. You can hear it hitting the windows.
Our houses are okay.
It's depressing.
As bad as all of this is, it could have been much worse. Today, this land they call sacred is at the heart of America's electric car revolution.
To me, it's a sacred ground.
The white gold rush is a race that Biden doesn't want to lose. I've covered some of the biggest stories in the world. Donald Trump, 45th President of the United States, it would appear, is about to learn his fate.
Escort coming out!
San Quentin houses America's largest death row. They rarely allow cameras onto the condemned block.
James Matthews, Sky News. I want to be treated equally like everyone else. It's one step closer to getting out, to getting off death row.
Sky News. Get the full story first. Mr. Trump, James Matthews from Sky News.
Hey, James.
Are you diminished by claims that you're a racist?
Question?
Mr. Musk, has your ignorance and ego cost Ukrainian lives? Vladimir Putin calls you outstanding. What do you call him, sir?
He's from Sky News. He's from Sky News. He's entitled to ask me questions.
The most significant day of this conflict.
They keep telling us that they want aid.
And this is what's left of it.
Tanks, heavy vehicle.
Why only in America? People want their country to work.
You want a job in a normal life.
Why are these homes empty?
I want you to be honest with people.
That has happened within minutes.
Sky News, the full story first. Free wherever you get your news.
I say, bring it on.
With America divided and tensions running high, get ready for an election like no other.
Join our teams as we follow the campaign trail as America decides.
We will win, win, win.
Get closer to the action this US election with full reaction and analysis.
Sky News, the full story first.
There's always more to the news than a headline. We want to discover, to delve a little deeper, to find out what's really going on. Explanation, analysis, the people at the heart of every story. I'm Neil Patterson, and this is the Sky News Daily Podcast. So, by the end, we'll hopefully all understand what's going on in the world just that little better. Available wherever you get your podcasts.
Traveling is not just about the destination. It's also about how you get there. Fly Emirates, fly better. Fly Emirates, fly better.
Right, let's have a look at the markets now. And the European stocks have enjoyed gains today, boosted by luxury equities, picking up from the strong Chinese economic data that we saw earlier. Here in London, though, the FTSE's been trading down 0.7%, though it's down 0.32. That's how it's closed. The blue chip index was weighed down by British American Tobacco and DS Smith. Leading the pack, though, have been the mining companies, also enjoying a lift from the positive news out of Beijing today, all up across the board there, as you can see. On Wall Street, markets have opened higher, propelled by the likes of Netflix, which has gained 10% following their better-than-expected results, added 5 million subscribers in the last quarter. Moving on to the currencies, it's also been a good day for the pound at one stage. I think it hit a two-year high against the euro, down just a little on that, but also up against the dollar. And when we look at the oil market, the price of a barrel of Brent crude has slipped again and is now down to just under $73 a barrel. Well, let's speak to Scott Douglas. He is Director of Centrus and joins us now live. We're going to talk about a lot of things, if we can, Scott. But first, let's start with gold, because it's also been performing incredibly well today.
Yeah, so the gold has been performing exceptionally well. Another record high hit today, $2,700 an ounce, up 30% on the year. Of course, gold is traditionally seen as a safe haven asset and benefits from situations where geopolitical tensions are quite high. And I think that's what we're seeing this week in the Middle East. Of course, with the killing of the Hamas leader calls from the US for a ceasefire and a truce, but no signs of that from either side. And I think that's playing into the minds of investors on gold. We've also got US political uncertainty as well with the upcoming election this week. And also some factors on central bank rate cuts feeding into markets as well. As rates are cut, that is cheaper to hold cash. It's less attractive to hold cash. That benefits assets like gold.
And another strong performer today, and actually pretty much all this year, let's be honest about it, has been sterling. And again, it's proven pretty resilient today.
Yeah, so I think we've seen the sort of relative value of sterling increase. I think this week, you mentioned earlier that we're touching on a 2-year high against the euro. This comes off of the central bank, the European Central Bank, cutting interest rates again yesterday to 3.25%. Their second cut in a row. Of course, all eyes turning in the UK here on the budget in a couple of weeks' time. With UK inflation data this week as well, similarly to the Eurozone coming in at lower than target at 1.7%, and interest rate cuts expected from the Bank of England when they meet in early November. So that could put some pressure on the pound as we move over the next few weeks.
And Scott, aside from currency, when we talk about the budget, there's a hell of a lot of speculation in the last week or so around inheritance tax, around welfare cuts, around things like capital gains tax, national insurance. We've been through a lot in the last week and we're still 12 days away from the budget. But what impact, if any, is that speculation having on the markets? How is the city viewing, as I say, the potential kind of cuts and tax increases?
Well, this is the most eagerly awaited budget that I think we've had for some time. Of course, it's the first budget under the new government. I mean, what markets and businesses like is certainty. What we have at the moment is a lot of uncertainty around speculation, rumours, and that's not good for markets. I mean, we can see, for example, today, there's rumours in the markets around the government not extending the current relief on stamp duty. You've seen the impact of that on house builder share prices down today on the FTSE. Between 2% and 4%. So, this kind of rumours and speculation, it does drive markets. But I think what people want is certainty.
And just finally, let's talk about oil. We were in a situation just over a week ago in which we saw a spike in oil, didn't we? After suggestions, actually from Joe Biden, that Israel may well attack Iranian oil fields. That has ebbed away, and the price of oil has continued to fall.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of factors for that. You've got supply and you've got demand. So on the supply side, I think the fears that Israel will attack Iranian oil facilities has dissipated a little bit. At the same time, we've also got OPEC Plus bringing on additional supply to the market from December. So that's keeping supply reasonably strong. At the same time, we've got mixed economic data. We've seen some positive news out of the US this week on retail sales and jobs data. However, some of the data out of China has not quite been as rosy with sort of impacts of the stimulus over there, which is dampening demand. So a combination of these factors is keeping oil price relatively low. We're quite far off the sort of highs that we had a few months ago, and certainly off the sort of record highs that we had post the sort of Russia-Ukraine situation. And I think that looms long in the mind. Any sort of spike in the oil price could be inflationary and put some of these central bank rate cuts into question, and that's what markets don't like. So markets are very much responding very positively to central bank rate cuts across the world.
Okay. Scott, really appreciate your analysis this afternoon. Thank you very much indeed. Scott Douglas there, the Director of Centris, joining us from South West London with the latest on the markets. And frankly, you know what? At the end of this Friday, it's not looking too bad out there on many different fronts. That is it from me for Business Live for now. We're back on Monday at 11:30. Up next, though, it's the News Hour with Jonathan Samuels. Enjoy that, stay tuned, and have a nice weekend.
I say, bring it on.
With America divided and tensions running high, get ready for an election like no other.
Join our teams as we follow the campaign trail as America decides.
We will win, win, win. Get closer to the action this US election with full reaction and analysis.
Sky News, the full story first.
There's always more to the news than a headline. We want to discover, to delve a little deeper, to find out what's really going on. Explanation, analysis, the people at the heart of every story. I'm Neil Patterson, and this is the Sky News Daily Podcast. So, by the end, we'll hopefully all understand what's going on in the world just that little better. Available wherever you get your podcasts.